All right, hi, everybody. I mentioned earlier, I think Mike's gonna be a little bit late. He had a meeting, and I know Councilmember Bliss said she may be late, so. Do we have any visitors? Or so. All right. I guess, well, has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from both September and October? And if so, are there any changes?
I think this is supposed to be me
Oh.
at the bottom of the
Okay.
attendance. So I
For
don't.
this, that was in the October,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, sorry.
Change. That change.
Turn it off too.
Here, I have them.
Thanks.
So any other changes that we need to make to the minutes for September or October? We'll give it, Brad, give you a second.
Here. We do have August minuets under the September 2023 on the third line. So we could go dance. Yeah. No.
Yeah, that's their thing.
No, go for it. There's.
Just going over minutes, seeing if everyone's had a chance to look over them. And once everyone's had a chance, I'll take a motion to approve with the changes reflected.
Make the motion, unless anyone's still. For September and October.
All right, are your second? All right, all in favor? Aye. Aye. All right, and I mentioned you don't have any visitors or comments. So we'll go on. I will skip Councilmember Bliss's update until she gets here. I'll save that for the end. Todd, any news?
So Ripple Glass dropped off their recycling container at the service center yard. Well, it's out in front, outside the gate, so people can get to it, easy access. It's in the front parking stalls, but I think we're gonna push it back to allow people to pull into those stalls rather than having to stop on the street. So
Okay.
make it a little easier access, but
Was everyone here for the Ripple Glass presentation? Okay.
Okay.
You might thought if you just.
So
kind of give
it's
us
a glass recycling. They're a local company. The guy actually lives in Webster that runs the company. Because
Really going.
it goes to a material recovery facility and then they ship it to China. So it's like,
Yeah.
Right.
this one will stay local and get redone into new bottles and new countertops and a couple
Right.
other things.
And the new products are manufactured outside Kansas City, I think on the Kansas side. But so if you get any questions, well, why is this better than putting it into my single stream? It's because the impact of these the new products is a lot smaller. The circularity of the Ripple Glass recycling is much more local. I mean, it's really just staying in our state's region. So that's That's good.
It's a good, good.
Yeah,
And
The
it's
service center, where's that?
145 East Waymire, you know where the BP station is up on Brentwood?
Is it where like
Right.
Deer Creek and
Yeah. the
right.
Deer Creek
meets,
Park, yeah. Okay.
okay, so it's like where like the big pile of wood chips is?
Yeah. And the
You got it.
Got it. Okay.
split wood.
Where the
put out there,
pumpkin
yes.
composting
Yes, the
was
pumpkin
too.
pump,
Right.
where we did the pumpkin.
Yeah.
Yep. To the same location as the pumpkin pump compost in
So it, remind me, is the only thing the city's doing is just providing space?
correct. Yeah, and we're not getting anything out of it.
Yeah, yeah,
Except we're one of the first in the area to have one, so.
right.
And he's trying to market it to grocery stores and other things. He has an agreement that he has to have them sign off on. So we signed off on ours. He modified it for us. So
Right, yeah, John,
Seems to me we should try and get an article in Webster Kirkwood Times, so people outside of this room know.
it'll probably go in when we have our full page Webster. It'll probably go in there.
So it's planning.
She put it on the Friday page and she did it on social media. So that'll be the next step. And I think it's on our website.
But we could get that's great if that's happening. I think maybe once it's rolling a little bit, having a feature article with a picture.
Mhm.
Cause I think some people don't read the Webster.
Yeah.
City Hall piece quite as
Yeah.
closely.
I agree with that. It's not always easy to get things featured in it depends on what the news of the
Yeah, those are the
of the
days.
week is.
Yeah.
And so, but that last edition of the week, we have a full page spread that Webster Jenny decides what
Yeah.
can go in there. And so that's the edition that we have more. things
And
on.
Jenny has taken pictures of it because she's put it out there on everything else.
I bet Don Corrigan could get it in.
Also,
Okay.
I would assume that the business will probably do their own advertising, right? Because
Yes,
it's
he is.
private business.
Yeah, he is. He said he's got it on his website and he does some other things that he's social media and everything too. So, yeah.
Don is the enviro guy for WKT.
Okay.
You go directly to Don. Don't deal with.
Will you send me an email?
Yeah, no, you make it.
Cause I've got a contact there, but it's not that person.
Nice.
Okay, send me that if you don't mind. Thanks, John.
Sure.
That's a good person.
all right, Todd, anything else?
No, well, the only other thing is I'm no longer public works director.
Okay,
There's been some changes, so you can take my title off. I'm now considered a project engineer. I'm over all the city's projects, so.
okay, who's going to be Public Works?
Vera is been moved up to the acting
Okay,
director. She is not qualified to be the director because she doesn't have her PE license
okay,
yet, but she's working on
okay, well, congratulations.
Yeah.
it.
You can still come to Sustainability Commission?
Yes, I am
meeting?
still gonna be the staff
Okay.
lead.
All right.
What
yeah.
is a P? Could I ask a question? What
Yeah.
is a, what's a PE license?
Professional engineer's license.
Oh, okay.
When you graduate college and get your engineering degree, you have to work 4 years under a licensed PE to be able to qualify to take the test to get your own license, so. And Vero's been working for almost 30 years under numerous different PEs and now she's eligible to take the test, but she's like, I need a refresher, so she's taking a refresher course right now, so.
All right, I guess with that, we'll move to old business and the pumpkin smash. Which was hopefully very successful. Do we have any numbers, do you know, from in terms of volume or?
I don't.
We should have counted them, but we didn't. I thought about that.
There was quite a few in there.
Here, look, there were a lot of.
It was quite cold.
And there were more than you think, because the Webster University kids brought 45 pumpkins.
Really?
Pre-smashed.
Oh,
I've seen them getting them out of their cars. They were on these tarps and it was a mess, but they did it. They did it. 45.
I
So,
had fun doing it too.
yeah, they did. I suspect, what do y'all think? Maybe 300?
That's a
Wow.
lot. That's
Yeah.
We'll get a number, but
When
we
I
get
saw
a, we should get a weight somehow, I would think.
Did we ask for a report from them? No, I
Maybe
don't think so.
bigger.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
All
There
right,
was very steady traffic while Karen and I were there. Like we just had every once in a while a little lull, but you know, it was there was almost always one or two cars unloading their pumpkins. There was a lot of sentiment that maybe it was too soon, though. We might want to think about that. People were like, "Oh, this pumpkin's still good, and I might want it for Thanksgiving," and just a thought.
yeah, I think a lot of it depends on when Halloween falls.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
because, you know, the other could be true, if you wait another week, then they're starting to
Right.
rot.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the jack-o'-lanterns, a lot of people
Right.
brought their whole
Yeah,
pumpkins,
right.
and used
Right.
And then in
decorations,
our-
and they really
Right.
wanted
Sure.
to keep them up longer.
Yeah. It
Right.
seemed like it honestly seemed like a little bit of a lost opportunity to educate people about composting too, because there were lots of people who were like, "Oh no, this is my only opportunity to compost this pumpkin. Should I drop it off or not? You know, it's not ready yet, but this is it. I'll never be able to compost again." And for some people, that's true, depending on where they live, but it seems like maybe it's not. Anyway, I just think next year we could provide some information about different composting alternatives, how to do it yourself, other places, and maybe spread the word.
And give away some bags.
Of course.
Yeah, we still have about what, 40 or 50 compost bins that we never got rid of from the.
Oh, you do that?
Yeah.
Maybe not that
Oh
many.
my
I did
gosh.
just- I did
Not
just
many,
give
though.
some,
Yes.
I offered them to all of the schools in the Webster Grove School District. For now, only Hickson was interested. If the message really got out there to everybody, I reached out to the communications director for the school district, but Hickson did take 3. Mr. Hayes was excited to start implementing composting at Hickson, and so I'll circle back with, there were a few other of the elementary schools that were interested, but didn't think they had the capacity to really be out there every week managing it. But I didn't hear back from anybody from
I
the
can
high
talk
school,
to,
so Carson, if,
I can talk to Irving about that. for sure.
yeah, let me know. We
Yeah.
have plenty that we could offer you guys.
And they have a sustainability class.
These are the composting
Not at
bins.
the
or
high
something.
Yeah,
school.
they're-
Yeah.
They do it, Hicks, but aren't they
Maybe
working
it's-
to get that?
They're called
Or is that just
sheets.
New.
Yeah.
I would not doubt it. Seems like.
John, what
It's-
elementary school did you hear from?
What-
I'm sorry, Elizabeth?
I just want to know what elementary schools Sean heard from.
Yeah,
Sorry, what was that?
Which schools have you heard from? Just Hickson.
Oh,
Hickson's
Hickson
only
is
one.
the only one that took me up on the offer. Andrea Parton,
I hear.
or sorry, not you. Andrea. And, I'm blanking on her name at the moment, but, she is from Avery and she was back and forth about it and then decided they didn't have the capacity.
Hmm.
And those were the only, I don't remember her name off the top of my head. Those were the only 2 that responded to, the communication director's call out saying, you know, the city of Webster Groves can offer these if you guys are interested. And only those 2 schools responded and he put me in touch with them. And then after several emails back and forth and explaining how it works and that even if you don't get out there all the time, it will still break down. It just takes
Yeah.
longer.
yeah.
But anyway, it was just Hickson that decided to move forward for now. So.
Here's a hint, in Avery,
uh-huh,
talk to Brad Perfaro.
Okay,
He runs a native plant outdoor business. And if you look at all the great native plants in front of Avery, that's Brad Perfaro. And he's a Webster guy, lives in Webster.
okay.
And I bet if he was hooked up with somebody in the school, and that might make
Okay.
them feel comfortable.
Yeah. Favaro,
Perfaro, Furfaro,
gotcha.
first name Brad, like the standard, but he's
Okay,
got his own business, so
Yeah.
he might eat that up.
thanks,
Yeah.
John. All right.
Okay, rec center, city hall, red bag recycling pickup. Karen, do I remember correctly that you were
Yes.
doing that?
Yes, I'm doing that, and I can report that I have taken 3 I've emptied the bin 3 times and I never see any red bags. They're all grocery bags and so, but people are bringing their bags.
Right.
When I empty it, you know, they really push them down in there, so they balloon out when I bring them out, and I end up with a couple of huge bags for them to take to the recycling, and I have a van, so.
That's
okay.
great. Are you good doing that, or do we, I mean, I
I'm
was
fine.
thinking we could go to a monthly sign up or a quarterly sign up so that we wouldn't have to revisit it every meeting.
I'll let you know when I get tired of it.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, the Eco Ed lecture series. Elizabeth, do you wanna give us a quick rundown on that?
Sure. I think it went pretty well. We probably had 25-ish people there. Does that seem maybe correct? And I thought it was a pretty great lecture. I think other people enjoyed it, and I think it was a good end to our series. I think we have to discuss though whether or not we're going to continue with the series.
Right. Has anyone spoken to the Green Space committee about what their plans are moving forward? Oh, Carla.
So I reported back to Corin after our last meeting and said we weren't sure. And he basically said I can look it up, but it was basically, wow, we really hope you can still do this, because I think my impression is they are ready, Green Space is ready to do their piece of it. So I can find out more, but that's the, that's what I know.
Okay.
And he did say the other thing is, I think they want to like pre-identify themes that they think are timely and important and then find speakers rather, I mean, not to say this is how we've been doing it, but instead of just saying, oh, I know somebody who can talk and they could talk about this, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah, yeah.
It
Yeah,
also might be good to have maybe fewer, like they did, so many up in front, and then we were kind of on the tail end. And I feel like fall is a really hard time. People aren't
Mhm.
worried about their outdoor spaces. And
Mhm.
I feel like if we maybe we don't do quite as many.
Alternate.
Yeah, alternate and do maybe less overall, that it might be more successful.
right.
Yeah, we had this last one was fairly well attended, but the 3 before that were not. So we don't really know how much. I would be hard pressed to compare the publicity for each. I think there were some things that happened for each one. Maybe we did more this time. I don't really know. There is some sense that maybe the space is hard to find. I know, and I never had a chance to get back to Jenny about this, but when I saw it on the Friday page last week, it just said Browning Hall. It didn't say that Browning Hall was on the campus of Webster University. I'm sure that information was there if you dug down, but I feel like maybe people aren't, either they feel like it's too much trouble to get there or they don't know exactly where it is, and I'm sure that's not helping.
Okay. Yeah, John.
2 points. First one is, if I agree with you on that, Carla. If we explored the Webster Groves Public Library, and can we get access to that room?
That's where we did it to begin with.
Right, but then it moved to Browning Hall. I'm
Right.
saying, is it an option to go back to the library?
Possibly.
I would assume so. 'Cause
I
I think the question right now is, does somebody on the commission want to work with Green Space and be the point person in charge of organizing our participation? Because I think, Carla, if I remember correctly, you just don't really have the bandwidth for that anymore.
I'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, I can reserve a room, I can show up to an event, but I should not be the backstop for anything right now because it might fall between the cracks. If somebody just tells me do this, I can do it, but I don't know if I can be sort of the mastermind.
Okay, I don't think we have to make a decision today. I just think maybe in December we I guess maybe in the interim, talk to Green Space and see what their plans are, or.
Yeah,
But-
I can ask them.
I can be the liaison. I'm on the subcommittee
Okay,
anyway,
okay,
so.
So you know Carrie Coyne.
okay, great, that'd be super helpful.
Okay.
Could I make a
Yes,
point? It seems to me, I think, on the question of, does this make sense to do or not? My thought is that it seemed like the speakers were kind of all about sort of a whole grab bag of topics. There wasn't a lot of clarity to like, or wasn't a lot of sense to what we were picking. And as I thought about it, I thought, well, it would make a whole lot more sense to me if we, and I think it makes sense to the attendees, is we pick topics that were actionable, like do something with people who have electric vehicles. And they talk about electric vehicles, and because people are gonna be thinking, oh shit, do I want to use these federal subsidies or not? That would be concrete, or say they're thinking about a residential rain garden, and we have somebody from MSD talking about the subsidies that are available, and then somebody who's a plant person to talk about how do you think about designing a rain
yeah,
garden.
yeah, I think the first question, are we gonna work to work with Green Space, and if the answer is yes, then how do we do it, and where do we do it? One thing that came to my mind when I was at the event the other night at the library, which I don't know if anyone remembers these, but Wash U used to have a series, and they were all focused around different topics on science. And they had one of the faculty, but they kind of made it fun. Instead of going, hey, let's go to, sit in a windowless room and talk about science.
Mhm.
They had it at Schlafly and had beers, and it was, it
Living right. Collaborative.
had a catchy name to it. I forget what it was, but it was really cool thing to go to. So that's just, just throwing that out there.
I think a thing that would really like probably improve like however many people go to these things is just like, I'm saying this and I don't really know like a better way to do it, but just like how it's like advertised. Because like I feel like especially for like younger people, like I don't like read the Friday whatever, even though I probably should, but like I don't. And I was looking like before we started just for like an Instagram account for like Webster Grove City or whatever, because I realized I didn't follow it, which was kind of bad of me, but I followed it. But like if we could just like announce stuff like on social media, I feel like more people would see it too.
Yeah.
I don't know if we
And
already do,
outside
but
outside of Facebook,
yeah, like
Yeah.
Instagram too.
people
Don't-
under 50 read that.
Yeah, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
Do we? Does Jenny do that? I don't know. I mean, I know she's
know.
the,
I don't know the extent to which we market. on-
She definitely creates events for every event she's notified of on Facebook. And on Facebook, she'll send out a reminder. On Instagram, I'm not sure if I mean, she can't create an event on Instagram, so I know
Right.
that, but so I'm not positive if every event gets a plug on Instagram or not. But I think that's a great point that a lot of people, especially younger people,
Even
aren't
if things
necessarily on Facebook.
could just be turned into like a story or something. It's just like, hey, quick reminder, this is happening tonight. Like that, like
Yeah.
cause like for the high school, like the our like Statesman Nation or whatever, just post like reminders for like any school thing. Like last night it was like reminder like to wear red for tacky day tomorrow. Just like something like that would probably be helpful, I feel like, because I wouldn't have remembered if I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Good point.
It was not on Instagram, I just checked.
Okay, well, yeah, I think that's, I'd personally love to see us continue to do this and maybe get more creative with how we market it and where we host it
Right.
and our topics.
Mhm.
And I'm going to talk to the Corin and the GSAC people too, because I think. I really think there might be some more interest, more momentum besides just general education, there's a activity people can do coming out of it. They can learn more about electric vehicles or MSD and rain gardens, and so it's action.
Mhm.
Carla?
yeah, so John, I get what you're saying. I think that's a good idea. I do think I went to at least one of the ones that Green Space sponsored, and there are people who are just interested in getting educated about stuff, and some of the stuff that seems perhaps on the surface not actionable is like that we didn't market it that way, but some of the like the stuff that Jean Ponzi talked about with the mosquitoes, I mean, she was definitely trying to get people to do something, couple different things. So I wonder if we could alternate and maybe have some that lean more towards a general education kind of thing, and others that are more on specific things that people might be thinking about doing or not doing. And of course the green space people, and Karen's going to talk to them, are and maybe I will too, it depends on if we have a meeting, are coming up with their own plans too. So I think maybe we should just put that in the hopper, and see what everybody thinks.
Okay, why don't we revisit this next month, and if Karen, if you have a chance before then, just to see kind of what their plans are for next year, maybe we could work on this further. All right.
I feel like they have some, I got the impression that they have some plans. So I don't know. We'll have to see what they're thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next item is greenhouse gas benchmarking update.
Yeah.
Love to hear what's going on there.
So, so I have an interesting update on that. I will say that, first, we have begun receiving information back from all the local utilities. Really what this project looks like is, it's a massive hunt for data from local utilities. And it takes a lot of time for the local utilities to be able to compile this data. And so I have started receiving data from the utilities. Ameren has asked for a few extensions, which they will have the bulk of the data, a good chunk of the data. So I understand for them, it's a lot that they're trying to figure out. But just about 2 weeks ago, I guess now, our intern, she withdrew her enrollment from SIUE. So it had nothing to do with us. She's lovely. I wish her the best. It was very unexpected. She worked all day with me on a Tuesday, and then, about 5 minutes before she and I were to leave for the day, she said, okay, now I have some bad news. And so I think really for her, it was just a personal situation. She is, I think she was financially in stress and overwhelmed with school, and she works at the science center and trying to make both ends, meet. And so she will likely be moving back to Kansas City, moving back with her parents and figuring out a different path for her. But so we are on pause. So instead of canceling our contract with SIUE, we have, I talked with the professor and Todd and leadership here, and we decided just to halt the project until the new year, until spring, and bring on a new grad student in spring. Okay. One of the options was to try and bring in a new student immediately, but really it just didn't make any sense, because we would very quickly be competing for their focus with their final exams and other end of the semester deadlines. Right. And it just seems like, and the utilities were also needing some extra time. So we will pick back up with the benchmarking project in January.
Great. All right. Well, thank you for that update. Moving on, Green Dining Alliance.
Yeah.
Anything new?
I don't have anything new. I've got new. Oh, great. I've got new. Okay, so I'll pass these around, and I'm sure you've already seen these, but this is just from the Green Dining Alliance. This is their just a kind of a staple postcard of theirs. But basically, I have been able to meet with Eric, and so we are. He gave me the green light to move forward. He and I both have been working on the micro grant program for Webster Roads to offer to our restaurants to become Green Dining Alliance certified. And to be certified with the GDA, you have to commit to a few core concepts, which are that you're gonna ban styrofoam, you're gonna implement single stream recycling, you're gonna phase in energy efficient lighting, you know, as you can, and that you will set waste reduction goals. And so that progress can be assessed in the future. So those are the core, those are the baseline. So you have to commit to do those. And then beyond that, and then after that, GDA will do an audit with them and they'll help them identify the areas they can work on. And then the intent is that they will continue past those baseline goals. But that's just a quick overview of GDA, which I'm sure you all are familiar with. There's also been discussion about getting Webster Grove's green dining district status. And so I've been working those numbers and I believe, so to get that status, we need 25% of the restaurants within the boundary to be GDA. Webster can set those boundary lines, which is great. And so from talking with Amna and even Jamie in the past and Councilmember Bliss and Eric, you know, it seems the general consensus is that we would do Old Webster Business District, Old Orchard Business District, the Crossroads to get Bagel Union in the mix and stretch up to bring in Maypop because we know Maypop wants to be involved. So that would be the districts that we're, the green dining district we're gonna try and get, which really, we just need 25% of the restaurants in that area, which really comes out to just be 10 establishments total. And 2 are already certified, so we really only need 8 more. So if 8 restaurants are interested and sign on, then it's really just a bonus that Webster Groves then gets, we get distinguished as a GDA district, which is fun. It's really not anything extra that, it's no extra burden on us really. But just to be clear, for the Webster Groves, the micro grant program that we will be offering to these restaurants to get certified to help them reach those baseline commitments. We're offering grants to do that, but we will be offering those to all of the restaurants in Webster Groves. So even those outside of the boundary lines we've created for the district, because it just seems fair to do that. And so with that in mind, that we might have more restaurants than just those in the potential district. The micro grant program that we are proposing to council, hopefully next month, that's the current plan as long as things continue as planned, but would be 2 different grants. One is called the Reduce Micro Grant, and that's a $1,000 grant to help them with those baseline steps, banning styrofoam and eliminating plastic serviceware, implementing single stream recycling and composting, which composting isn't required, it's just encouraged. But then aside from that, we would also have a recharge micro grant for $3,000. And that's really to help them with energy improvements. So energy efficient lighting, if anybody was going to be installing a new electric range, installation of EV charging stations. I really don't foresee we would have a lot of these restaurants have street parking or, you know, share a public parking lot. So I don't really see any restaurants putting in, but you know, if they more power to them if they want to, and they could be eligible for this $3,000 grant to do that. And the ranges, the electric ranges also, I don't see, I mean, those can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000. So I mean, really, you know, if we'd gotten this program up and running 6 months ago, maybe Madrina, you know, because they were designing their kitchen anyway, maybe they could have. But really, and even the GDA program manager said, it's, you know, I don't see it often. It's really just if a new restaurant is coming on scene and or one is completely redesigning their kitchen. But anyway, if anybody is interested in some of these larger energy investments, we could offer them a $3,000 micro grant.
Wow.
So assuming that we get council's approval to move forward then in January, we would start reaching out to restaurants and promoting the program on the socials, and then the program manager from the GDA would go to an event in February with the BDC at their coffee events that's in February, and he could connect with businesses then. And there's other ways we could connect with restaurants, but possibly going to the chamber meeting, which is shared with Shrewsbury and Rockville. But we can talk about outreach in the future, but that's
Right.
the latest with GDA.
Wow,
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
That's great.
Good.
We're waiting on
I have a few comments.
that.
yes,
I was at Healthy Planet magazine, had a good 3 pages about Green Dining Alliance. I just happened to be at Llewellyn's and picked it up, and there was an ad from Llewellyn's about GDA, and there was a listing of Webster restaurants. So that might be a good outlet for reaching out at some point.
Thank you.
Also, the Business Development Commission is prepared to help partner with you all as far as getting the word to the restaurants. So they aren't meeting in December, but by the time council has a chance to hear about it and hopefully approve the micro grants, they'll be ready in January to hear about those. And their February coffee is gonna be most likely about community improvement districts. And then we can think about folding in this info.
okay, great.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Great. Well, thanks for that update. And since we skipped you, Councilmember Bliss, maybe we could go back in case you have any updates.
Let's see, I was gonna say, Todd, did you mention or the stormwater master plan
I did not.
survey is live
Okay.
on the website, so it's in this past Friday page, that's how I found it. But I'm sure if you just go to stormwater master plan,
Yeah.
or you can sign up for notify me and start getting those. So that was, I filled that out. It was very handy and it was good interaction with some residents that have been emailing me. I said, well, we have this, please fill this out. So
We've had, I think,
That's-
350
that's good. Awesome. Yeah.
so far.
So you all can fill that out. Let's see, Destination WG, we're still working on the bond issue to see what elements will go in that. Between last meeting and tomorrow's meeting, each council member filled out another balancing act survey to decide how they want to spend the money and what the priorities would be. And I would say most of the initiatives, if we do go with a $22.1 million bond, most initiatives will fit within that price range.
Right, and there was quite a bit of solar, including solar on
Yes,
on the rec center.
yes, there was
Yep.
quite a bit of solar. As far as how I don't know, I filled out the survey, I prioritized those infrastructure for things like all of the improvements to the mechanical at the recplex and all the other, before I said solar. It was like a chicken and egg thing, but pick solar first and then have but I ended up doing all the little steps first for solar. Charter Advisory Review Board, we did select some items to go on the ballot. We're waiting for the city attorney to write those, but those are essentially at this point just administrative changes for April. That's it.
All right. Under new business, but yeah, John.
I know this could be a can of worms and I don't want you to do a deep dive in it. I was actually a little surprised when the council rejected the FEMA money and the buyouts along Deer Creek.
I was gonna ask to open that can, but I thought, well.
Is there like a couple sentence version of how we should understand that?
It's too expensive.
I think council, I've been personally for it since day one, and I understand the need and how that works as far as removing structures from floodplains. But I think for the council members that did not vote for that, they were concerned about the precedent it would set for other homes with the, subsequent flooding. We are gonna start looking at creating a fund for the repetitive homes so that it's not we don't have to dip into other funds. We have the budget for it. Moving forward. That's basically the main idea.
I guess I need to talk to Dr. Peoples.
Hmm?
I guess I need to talk to Dr. Peoples. The OMCI funds can be used for finance.
Yeah,
Alright.
yes, no, you're right. No, we can talk about some other stuff too.
Okay.
The one thing I forgot to mention was I did attend a local leadership luncheon. Todd was there as well. That MSD is putting out, and so they have a stormwater plan and a wastewater plan that'll both be in bond issues in April. And they had, I actually they have a very good one pager about it. And, I think they'll be doing more education and outreach, and the mayor and I are gonna get together and just kind of put our heads together of events that we could have, or different groups of stakeholders that could, we could make up an educational session somewhere along the line for everybody. But that does include grants for buyouts. It also has grants for environmental justice, etc.
Okay.
So it's kind of a broad reaching, well detailed and thought out plan. It's a 27-year plan.
All right, on that note, I'm sorry, Paul, yes, sorry.
Sorry, not to be on camera. Pam, just wondering if you or Todd could say, how many homes do we have in Webster that sort of would be this precedential pool that could be, that was the basis for people voting no?
As I understand it, there's 50 homes that are in the 1% floodplain.
That's helpful to understand, because I read the rationale and I thought, okay, I mean, it makes sense, but if there's only like 5 homes, then what are we talking about?
Right.
Mhm. And technically, they should all have flood insurance, so.
But what happened, do the ones have flood insurance that got hammered? Does anybody know?
They're required to if they're in a floodplain.
Cause there's a couple houses on Pacific, don't look like much has happened.
Yeah, I don't know the details of their situation as far as the flood insurance, and those things. We did not hear those details from them.
All right, under new business, the holiday light collection. Mike, you said you're.
Yeah, I can do that again. I
Okay.
need help. I don't remember what we did on posting, getting the word out.
Yeah.
I just connected the people
Okay.
and we dropped off boxes. Assuming
Yeah.
the same location would
Yes,
be. good to
here,
go.
here at the rec center. Yep.
Yep.
Okay,
Here and at the rec center.
Yeah, City Hall Rec Center.
Well, no, it was rec center and.
Oh, we did have one at the service center too.
Service
Yeah.
center. I don't think we had one here.
Oh, we didn't have one here? You sure?
Somebody
I
brought
think we
them.
had one down in the lower level,
Yeah, we did.
coming off of the parking
Yeah.
lot on the east side of the.
That wasn't the guy that does.
Oh,
Maybe.
yeah, we have.
Jenny,
Never knew about
Jenny told me. somebody
Never told me to pick up.
Oh, really?
I think there's some sitting down there, cause some resident brought them here after the collection was over.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah.
and she was, anyway, they might still be down there, but.
Yeah, I didn't think
And where was the other location?
The service center.
Service center, it was outside by where the wood pile is.
Is there an additional charge to have 3 locations, or is it just, okay,
It's just a
Think it'd be
pickup.
good to have.
okay,
For them to pick it up.
so,
Bring your holiday lights and your glass.
Right, at the same time.
I had a lady call me and said,
McDonald's.
she goes, I got these burned out Christmas lights, what am I supposed to do with them? Right, wait for the electronic recycling game next year? I said, no, watch our city's website, we have a holiday light recycling thing in December, so.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know.
All right, and when did we? What was the
Yeah, when did
date
those
on
go
that?
up?
Those boxes, when do we
It's
set them
right
up?
after Thanksgiving, isn't it? We
Yeah.
start, people start putting their lights up.
Close, yeah, I'll double check and
Yeah.
I'll reach out to him tomorrow.
Okay, great.
and then
And then-
can you loop us in so we know how
Yeah.
to, okay.
Awesome.
And I'm sure Scott will be fine with having one down there. Again,
Yeah, I wanna make sure he drops off the box
first before.
Yeah.
Right, publicize it, exactly.
Everybody's question.
Right.
Well, we'll let
That's the
Scott
objective.
know that that will be coming soon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That would be another good thing for Instagram and stuff too. though.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so I wanted to just leave a little bit of time to start thinking about priorities for 2024. And specifically, anything we can take from the Forever Webster Groves Plan and decide, you know, how much bandwidth do we have in terms of time personally as members of the commission, and, you know, how do we want to prioritize our work next year? Because you know, with the I think as we found out with the solar rebates, you know, we were wanting to do an event around that and the time just got short.
Yeah.
And I know we've talked about revisiting that next year, regardless of probably what you know, the solar program, whether or not there's going to be another solar group buy. But so a couple of things off the top of my head that came to mind were we've got to distribute these bags.
We got a lot of
Otherwise, you know, someone's going to be here 50 years from now as chair of sustainability going,
We
"What are we
have
doing with all
a
these
lot
bags?" So I'd love to, and not to put it on the spot, but just maybe next meeting, if, you know, anyone has ideas for, I need to find out what the grant rules, because I wasn't part of that. You know, what are the limitations around how we give them out, who we give them to, when we give them out, what do we have to do a report, and when does that due? I think just all those terms, I think, I'm not even sure if that was Jamie or Kim, going back to Kim, or who has that.
I mean, it could be like how you market it too, like turn in your lights and get your Webster swag bag. Like, I
Right,
think
well,
it's
that was
really cool,
always-
you know.
So when we did this, that would
Next
be,
to the light bin.
it was always envisioned that we would go out at these big events like
Jazz
Jazz Fest, Art and Air,
Yeah.
put a table and use that as a way to interact with people and hand out these bags. But, you know, I don't know how many we have, like. in the
We got
thousands.
boxes, we have boxes.
That's a lot of time and.
Yeah.
Could you put it by the light bin or you scared like then they'll just get? Do you care? Is that what you want though? Do you want them to just
Yeah.
like people
Well-
take them and use them, you know?
Within program rules, yes.
I wonder, could we work with that guy at Hickson, who's the teacher? in-
Oh, I know.
Sure.
Yeah,
There you go.
Gave him a box of bags with the compost bins.
yeah.
Have you guys
With
considered
bags and compost?
Yes, how good for you.
contact Rob's
Right, that's.
about just doing this?
That's why I wanted to look.
During Earth Week or?
Yeah, I'm trying to go over, kind of revisit in my mind, we discussed this, I don't know how many, 3 years ago it was.
Yeah, well, we got the bags during COVID, so.
Yeah.
Well, everything was shut down, so.
Right.
We didn't have any events to get them out at.
Exactly, but I think we started out when we had the idea for reusable bags, reaching out to some of like Straub's and
Yeah.
and then someone else,
Maybe
and
Rogers?
Or
Yeah.
like at high school
Oh, Rogers
sporting
is a great
events, like could they have some high schoolers handing out bags or like that when you come to the basketball
Yeah, because
game?
there's always a person who's like,
Yeah, like a
unless it's like
greeter,
unless it's like a small sport.
right? And you
Like,
can
there's
have
always a
like
person that's like
Smart
giving you like your
coaster.
ticket and whatever.
yeah,
That would be good, I think.
Yeah.
with your ticket or yeah, on
Yeah.
the Kirkwood Webster game, you know.
Turkey Day.
Turkey Day games.
yeah,
Thursday.
The only problem is like, would people wanna take a bag if they have to like carry it with them?
Right.
for the whole
It's
game?
small. but
Yeah, the
it's-
last
Folds up in a little.
especially bag,
Oh, I've never seen these, so I don't know. It's a great bag.
they are great bags.
They're small, yeah.
Look, it's very, there you go.
Can I throw out a thought?
Sure.
Sorry. So when you look at the rules, I know at Webster University, we have a huge influx of international students, and they're not all necessarily living in Webster Groves, but some of them are, and they're not able to bring much with them. So I suspect there might be if that would be a population we can give bags to, they would probably really appreciate them. So that's just like I said, when you're looking at the rules, maybe kind of keep that in mind to see if
Right.
that's something we could do.
Make it part of a welcome package or something.
Exactly.
It's a good idea.
Which we toss that around with here with new residents, when they're
Right.
getting their occupancy, giving them a bag. with their
Right.
occupancy.
Yeah.
Right.
Mara did take a handful of that, about a dozen for the ARB board, because
Okay.
they're constantly
Good.
giving passing hard docs back and forth,
Yeah.
and so she's just been putting them in like, yeah, plastic bags, and then she hangs it on their door, but she just took like,
Yeah.
12 at the most. but-
Okay, well, anyway, that's one example of something I'd really like to prioritize,
Yeah.
just as kind of something to kind of work on next year. And then secondly, really getting word out and promoting the solar rebates. And I'd love to think about potentially doing an event. If, early next year, depending on the timing of a solar group buy. And I don't know what their status is, but we can probably find out if they've made any decision. But I just want everyone to, other ideas are welcome for priorities. Yeah, John.
I think I really like the solar idea, because I think there's with federal subsidies, that this is a moment that people can have support to be able to make that move. I think similar with EVs, because there's substantial EV funds available from the feds, and I think EV production is starting to ramp up, so there's actually EVs to buy. And then also as a city, we've got a plan to install a bunch of charging stations, right?
We applied for a grant for that.
Ah.
yeah.
We've not heard
No.
yet. Okay. What's the timeline on it,
I'm hoping it's December that we hear.
Okay.
That was for 18 charging stations
Okay.
throughout.
And I know sometimes when you buy an EV, the place you buy it has a subsidy, or the
Right.
manufacturer does. So it seems to me solar EVs, and giving people education on the subsidies, as well as to why that technology makes sense. And one thing that we had to grapple with, and I think it's too long of a discussion with 5 minutes left, is what can we legally do around the April bond issue? Because if the bond issue includes solar on top of the rec center, people may think, oh, well, what do you think? And I'm not sure, can we say anything? Because it's like, or not. So I think as we look at, figuring out what we can do that's helpful but appropriate for that we can do.
Well, and this is just sort of me thinking, but I know we had talked about doing something with the solar folks this fall and Ameren, and some sort of an event where people can come, get all the information they could possibly want. And we could also talk about the code change in as far as installing solar districts and our rebate program. And I know like days like today when it's 40 degrees and gray and drizzly, solar isn't on people's minds, but I wonder if giving it some lead time, if something in early March, and again, we could do it, it could be a happy hour, kind of like we were thinking. Yeah. But whatever, if we chose to do something like that in March, I think the time to really start to make some decisions would be our next meeting, so that we can, as we've seen, it takes time to kind of get these things rolling. Yes, Karen.
I think doing the solar and continuing that is an absolutely wonderful idea. I would like to, for us to think about expanding the IRA opportunities to include the building issues that are not the building
Energy
opportunities.
efficiency.
Yeah, energy efficiency, because one of our priorities is to reduce emissions by repairing or improving infrastructure And one of our targets is private residential buildings. And I think that if we're doing work with solar and the IRA incentives, this is hand in hand with that. And I think that expanding that initiative to include the conservation
Right.
issues is really makes a lot of sense.
I think that's too much bandwidth. I think you've got so much info. I think both of them are important. I think they could stand alone and both be relevant. Because I think learning about solar is like drinking from a fire hose already. Because there's so much information about tilt and shade and payback and your breaker box and yada, 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 yada. I think we don't want to give people so much that
Well,
they just don't do anything.
can I just jump in here though? I think it really depends on how the event is structured. If it's almost like I want to call it a festival, but if it's like come and learn about different opportunities, some people might come for one, some people might come for another. Somebody might start to learn about solar, decide it's not for them, and then they can switch over to something else. I don't know that people are going to feel like they have to learn everything about every opportunity, even if those options are there. You know what I mean? Like if there's different booths or different tables, it could be it would be easier for us to only organize one event and people could come and learn about what they're interested in.
Yeah, I guess the way I was envisioning this would be kind of an open house where come grab a beer, have some appetizers, and if you want to talk to Ameren about what's this going to do to my electricity bill, or if you want to talk to a solar installer about ask your questions. Now how much we open this up to other things is something we can decide, but I agree. I made that case for a long time on this commission years ago, and I was sort of said, well, all the utilities run market the energy efficiency programs. The city doesn't need to do it.
But now we have the IRA
Yeah.
incentives, and I think it's on us that people know that.
Okay.
I
Well,
don't
Maybe
know.
these could be an eco-ed installments also.
I think
Yeah,
it'd be a
I don't
great
know about
program.
Seems like something like my parents would go to, and like, they care about this stuff, but they aren't like constantly like checking, oh, like how are these
Right.
guys? Like they go to something like that.
Yeah.
And it's such simple fixes. I mean, what you can save in energy just by caulking or putting up new windows,
yeah.
and the investment is very, very low. And it's not only good for emissions, but it's good for people's pocketbooks. I mean, there are people, if we had incentives for people to do some of the conservation work, who would actually have more money to spend on rent and their medicine.
Well,
I mean, it's
yeah.
really, it's right in people's pocketbook.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I don't know if you remember the old, and actually, it kind of got a bad rap, not because of the concept of energy efficiency, but how the program was administered with the PACE program, where you were actually required to do energy efficiency upgrades before they would help you finance solar because of the cost of solar. And the last thing you want to do is generate your own electricity and have half of it go out the leaky windows.
A lot of installers do that. Like I know, what's that one in Springfield, not Sun Solar? The big
Yeah.
solar installer, they will only install solar after you do a home energy audit and you do those changes. So I think that's sort of seems to be kind of becoming
But
standard. And
I think we discussed this, I discussed this with somebody the other night at the Eco Ed series, which is, is there a way that Sustainability Commission can be sort of a clearinghouse for information on what's available and, or at least guide people who are interested in, what's available if I want to replace the windows in my home or insulate my attic. Yes.
If I could offer that as potentially a priority for the new year, is like creating a page or something on the Webster page that's like the sustainability page where we can have links to all of these different kinds of resources, because you're right, the energy efficiency stuff, it's all over Ameren's website, and we have access to those things.
not everyone knows that it's there, even though it's like a treasure trove of resources. But also to Karen's point, it's like such a low barrier to entry and so high impact and so low cost for people to implement these things. It feels like a good gateway for people, like to get into better sustainable practice. So I like the idea of like energy efficiency, but also solar is important. But I think that if we can be efficient and
Right.
get that, like build that foundation, seems like a good direction.
Right.
The line array also applies, I think that it applies to rentals as well,
Mhm.
that the homeowner can, I'm not sure who gets the credit, but I think that you can get it into rental buildings as well.
Right. There's so much in the IRA
Mhm.
in terms of various incentives, and it's all, the problem is when you get into the weeds of how does it work with the tax code, and
Mhm.
it can get complicated, but yeah, I think whether it's in the case of the solar rebates, actually giving residents money to help, even if it's just a tiny bit to offset the cost of, maybe defray the cost of permitting, or getting your city permit and inspection, or just being a provider of information. I think they're all valid. I'd love to see us do more of that. John?
We're kind of, I think, that as we think about the solar piece of it, I am still ready and willing to work on actually setting together a tour, because I think the technology, say, of energy efficiency is fairly straightforward. Like, you put insulation in the roof, you do blah, 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 blah. People get it. I think they're not afraid of it. I think solar is like going from the horse to a internal combustion engine. So like a whole different world. And so people are less willing to jump because they don't understand it. And actually going to somebody's house and saying, how did it work for you? I think would be more important. I think EVs could be like that too, because I know for me, I grab a gasoline vehicle, I'm thinking, I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around all the different things I gotta do.
I'm learning so much right now about, trying to put a charger in my house, and like, what's the size of your electric panel, and just make your head explode.
Exactly. So I think in situations like that human to human, you
Yeah.
eyeball it and say, oh, this is what you had to do, and this costs this much, and you put your charger here because of this and that. And I think that thinking about giving Webster people eyeballs, hands-on look at.
I think we have our lecture series for next year, energy efficiency, solar, and EV charging.
Good.
Next year I'll have an EV I can bring to it.
There you go.
Okay, well, I think these are all really good ideas, and I'm gonna plan to go through the Forever Webster Groves plan again and see, what other things, and I don't want to bite off too much, because I think that's been a problem in the past. We've had such a big plate. I think we need to determine our bandwidth individually in terms of time.
Jeff, I created an Excel list of all of the objectives in that report. So, I mean, altogether, I think there's 94. I can just send that to you.
Okay.
So you don't have
So
to.
8 a month, that's
Right.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know what point council is gonna come back and ask for us to outline what our priorities are. But I know that, that
If you
was,
would like, if we need money for it,
Budget time.
yeah,
so I would say by February, early
February,
March.
March.
yeah. But if we can start to sketch those out, next month, I think that'd be a big help going into the new year. So, with that, given that we're at 5:05, unless there's anything else, is Monday, December the 18th. Does anyone have problems with that? I know we're getting close to the holidays.
I'm out of town.
Gotcha. All right.
Isn't Monday the 19th?
18.
I'll just communicate.
I can do it.
Yeah. Okay. All right, well, then, I guess with that, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So, yeah.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.